It was movie night sometime in the early 2000s. My mother, aunt, uncle, and cousins headed out to the local movie theater to see a film. Although, as always, it wasn't the movie I was looking forward to, oh no. It was the cinema arcade. I was super excited to squeeze some Crazy Taxi, Time Crisis, Galaga, Dig Dug, something in between the time it took for the adults to get tickets and concessions with the coins I was previously promised from my mother's coin purse. Pockets jingling, me and my cousins hurried to the door of the theater. Before we even got through the main doors of the cinema, we could hear the noise pouring out of the arcade. Our little feet hurried faster, drawn to the noise like a moth to a flame. Bumping tunes and an excited announcer narrated the scene before us.
Are you ready? Here we go!
Packed, shoulder to shoulder, a crowd surrounding one machine. Dance Dance Revolution.
Let's DDR!
Squeezing between the older kids, we were able to get a glimpse of the action. One dude was absolutely tearing it up, dancing around the two pads like he was in some kind of fever trance. The crowd cheered as his combo grew and the announcer got increasingly excited. Slack-jawed and starry-eyed, I watched with intense focus, the music permeating my very soul.
300 combos!
Suddenly, tearing me away from my fixation was my mother's voice. It was movie time and I hadn't spent a single quarter. Do I remember what movie we saw that night? Do I remember what flavor seasoning sprinkle we put on the popcorn? Absolutely not. What I do remember was DDR. The world's greatest music/rhythm/dancing game. That night would shape the future of both my gaming and music tastes for the rest of my natural life. I begged my mother for a copy of the game and associated dance pad, and, much to the disdain of my father, who would hear stomping coming from upstairs for hours on end, my mother got me the pack with a pad and DDR Economics, my first DDR game. My ultimate dream? Be that guy, tearing it up in the middle of the arcade, crowd cheering him on. He became a legendary rival for me to one day live up to. He became Max to me, and I would forever be chasing the legend of Max. A personal goal and story I fabricated from in-game songs. Stepping onto the mat for the first time, I wasn't awful, but I wasn't great. I was a long, long way away from Max. Me and my cousins would play, and while I was certainly better than them, even to the extent of sometimes being the next difficulty level up, I wasn't wowing anyone worth a damn with basic or the occasional trick mode difficulty. DDR became a way of life for me. I burned a CD of all the tracks. I tried to memorize the steps. I practiced day in and day out. Even if I wasn't very skilled, it felt good to have this omnipresent goal hanging over my head, and I was getting better. My foot placement, my movements, my ability to read arrows coming at me faster and faster. Though I would sometimes put the pad away for some time, the thought was always in the back of my mind. Max was always there, waiting for me to challenge him. Dance Dance Revolution became a way of life for a lot of people. This story isn't unique to me. DDR took the early 2000s by storm. Everyone played DDR. People who didn't like video games played DDR. DDR even garnered some attention as a competitive esport with, believe it or not, tournaments still occurring in 2020, and ultimately sparking what is still, to this day, one of my favorite pieces of media of all time. A little-known DDR webcomic called The 10K Commotion. A look into what the competitive DDR scene is like, featuring a pretty large cast of memorable and lovable characters. It all comes off as a very real look into DDR culture and the bonds of close friends who bet everything on a competitive video game, for fame, fun, and $10,000, of course. And that's because artist and author Yukon based the comic loosely on real conversations with their friends. Just listen to this blurb from the site. I had moved back and forth between Los Angeles and Fukuoka. I was working freelance, plus lots of random jobs that weren't stable enough to stay in one place for long. Within California, I moved every few weeks between really great friends and roommates at the time, still gaming and crashing in and out of relationships. This was deeply personal. The intermissions are based on specific conversations that occurred and impacted or stayed with me. I highly recommend you check it out, even if you're not a DDR freak. It's an excellent webcomic. I was able to play many of the PS2 releases either at home or at a friend's house, and I was always the best player. Certainly not max level, but I was improving. I was confidently in the trick/standard/difficulty, not dropping down for even a single track. The first track I ever cleared on Heavy or Expert was A Stupid Barber from the cheesy little mat on the PS2. And I was so amped. I was getting there. Slowly but surely I was getting there, after years of practice. Each goal felt like I had truly reached it. It wasn't dumb luck. It was undeniably skill and perseverance. And that's something that no other game genre can really boast. Sure, levels and bosses get more difficult, and you certainly feel like you got better at the game by the end, but there's just something so satisfying about going up a difficulty level in a music rhythm game. Again, especially one with a physical element to it. Take Guitar Hero. Remember moving from 3 buttons to 4 to eventually 5? You knew you were getting better at the game. There was no equipment making you better, no level geometry to give you an edge, no leveling up, just you and the music. There's like a moment, somewhere around the halfway point of a song in a music rhythm game, where the world just melts away. Sometimes that part comes sooner or later, but in that moment, you are one with the game. Your mind is empty, except for the notes coming up. The music consumes you, and it's a wondrous feeling. It's the closest thing I can think of to another state of consciousness. Music rhythm games aren't the only games that have brought me to the near other world. Bullet hell games where bullets are raining down on you in curtains, avoiding them by mere pixels can bring you to that state. But I digress. I got better at DDR. I can confidently clear 75% of the tracks on my extreme cabinet on heavy difficulty, and a select few on Oni or challenge mode. I returned to that theater to find the arcade empty and soulless. Barely any games remain, no crowd, and most importantly, no DDR. And with COVID in full swing, I can't even go there to show you. Arcades basically don't exist anymore. The ones that do certainly don't draw the same crowd I'd see that day. Arcades may be few and far between, and while I did say they were extinct, there are some that exist here and there in the US. And if I ever head to Japan, they're not quite as dead there as they are here. Japan has been steadily improving DDR arcade machines with updated features and internet connection. Is the dream dead? Does DDR stand for Dead Dream Revolution? No, not yet. I'll keep training, and one day, I'll make Max proud, wherever he is. I'd like to take a moment to thank my one and only Patreon supporter, Harvest Time. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me, and keeps me motivated to keep putting out quality content. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can find the link in the description of this video. There you can listen to me sing your praises, and even score some exclusive Cyberphile merchandise. Hey, thanks for watching! Don't forget to subscribe for more Cyberphile content, and if you liked this video, show me with that little thumbs up button. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos. You can click right on the boxes to jump to them. Cyberphile, offline.